Welcome back to the Relationship Whisperer Show with Miss Dragonfly, where we discuss all things relationships with the aim to make marriage great again. Now, part of making marriage great is that we have to officially start the marriage, and that's where we need a marriage celebrant to officiate, and that is exactly who we have in the studio with us today. Welcome to the show, Joy Rulewski.
Yes, that's right, Joy Rulewski.
Yeah, I understand it. Besides being you're both a marriage celebrant and a spiritualist as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So, firstly, if we can start with the marriage celebrant part, how long have you been a marriage celebrant?
Since 2013, and so that's 10 years, 11 years.
Yeah, 11 years now.
Yeah. It sounds like a long time, but other celebrants, of course, have done it most of their lives at 20 years, and they're still going. And since then, I find that it's something that I really love doing.
So may I ask, what got you into it?
Well, it's something that I really wanted to do because it encapsulated everything that I loved about life. It celebrates life, and it's about relationship, and also I'm actually a drama student, or actually not student. I studied drama from a very good. Sorry, I went on an off tangent because I went to something completely different in my mind.
Yeah.
Yes, because all my life I've been a theater person.
Yeah.
I studied drama in one of the best institutes in England. And when I finished that, and I did a lot of work in theater in the Philippines. I'm from the Philippines, by the way.
Yeah.
And so it encapsulated everything I loved, which is the celebratory part of it, affirming life, affirming relationships, and it was the drama part of it, which is like it just incorporated everything, without it being like a real sort of drama with sadness and everything. So I took that as something that I'd like to do, and the other thing was it also helped me with understanding or being able to use all the part of it was the writing part of it, and the meeting of people, and the talking to people. I got into it also with the music, because I love the idea of the music that I use in there, and so it just had everything that I loved about life and about my life, and I wanted to continue that. I got out of, I used to be a paralegal secretary.
Okay.
And then here in Australia, but in the Philippines, I did a lot of teaching in universities, and then I also did directing theater, and also did community theater. So there's a lot of work with community.
Okay.
And so when I came here, I just got stuck in a room, in an office, and I just felt really like my spirit just got sucked out of me.
Yeah, it's not you, eh? The feeling, it's not you.
Exactly. So I thought to myself, what shall I do? And I wasn't happy, really. I loved it because I did it up to a certain point because it paid me good money.
Yeah.
But the other thing was I was not living my life. So I really wanted to do singing and music. And so I went out and in the meantime that I was doing the paralegal, the legal secretary and the word processing, I studied singing. And I studied again. I took a postgraduate in music and pedagogy. That means singing teaching.
Yep.
So when I finished that, it was a big decision for me to stop my paralegal, my law work, and went dove into the singing, and it was just a big jump because that was like from something steady you get into to like a business that you don't know whether it was going to go on and off. And And then with that, I said, why don't I become a marriage celebrant? I think I just saw it in the papers. Somebody was advertising to be advertising a course in marriage celebrancy. I said, that's really wonderful. So I said, okay, I'm going to do that. And I studied that as well while I was also studying and teaching singing.
So is it difficult to become a marriage celebrant? What's the criteria and what do you have to do to be one?
It's actually not as easy as you think. I thought you will just go there and then you just told what to say. But there's a lot of things you have to study, and that is the law, Australian law. Yeah, because we are actually the representatives of the Attorney General's office.
Okay.
So when people want to get married, like civilly, they can either go to the BDM, which is the Registry of Births, Deaths and Marriages. They have their own offices, and they can go there. Or they can come to us. Yeah. There are many marriage celebrants who are trained, and we're trained in not only the law, but how to create the ceremonies, etc. So there are many rules,
requirements. So these courses, do you have to pay to do that?
Yes.
To gain that? Oh, okay.
Yes, we had to pay. But you could do it also part-time.
Yeah.
You can do it part-time. I did it part-time. Some part of it is in live. Yeah. And others you can do at home. But you still have to, that was at the time when there was no Zoom or anything like that. But, so I did it that way. And I think it took me about on and off, so 3 years. 3 years, about 3 years, part-time. But you can do it possibly within a year. Yeah. Yeah. And the exams for that is quite steep. It's quite difficult. Because
okay. You have an exam as well. Wow.
Oh, yes. You have to have an exam. You have to have, like they watch you when we're giving a sort of a mock ceremony. Yeah. And then you pass the test, and then you don't know whether you pass or not for several weeks, sometimes a month. And then you get a notice, and
and then you're accredited. So how long does the whole process take
for the
to become a marriage celebrant?
It depends upon whether you want to study full time.
Yeah,
and there are several institutes that conduct those training, or you can do it like I did, which was I did it part time. Yeah. So it took me about 3 years, and there's I think not more than that, but you can definitely do it shorter. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess a lot of people still want the full ceremony instead of going to DDM. Yes. Yeah. So you get the ceremony, but then I guess more traditional people are used to going to the church where the priest officiates and so thing if they're Christian, and religious figures doing it. So, but. And I guess civil celebrant is like a good alternative to a lot of people who are not religious. So do you know what the proportion is that people choose a civil celebrant over, say, a religious, like a figure, like a priest or...
I don't know the exact proportion, but it is said that more people go to civil celebrants than going to the church. But I don't know whether that can change, because there's, of course, in the wider context, there's now a going back to the church, to the rituals of religious.
I did hear something about that. Even the church is now going back to the old ways instead of the semi-modern ways that they've done it. Is that true?
Yes.
I don't know if you know about that.
Well, I'm very interested in that, actually, because there's a swing back to the hardcore, if you like, if you can use that word. Yeah. Religious experience for people. They're going back to what it used to be like, even in their grandparents' places. Maybe I don't think it's just a matter of that. I think people are now really looking for something real, because I think it had swung so far to the one side that there was heavily no
rejecting
dimension.
tradition, rejecting all the old stuff. You know,
Yes.
they want to be, I think, saying innovative and probably a bit cute to their own thing.
Yes, be rebellious.
Yeah.
And say, we're going to be different. We're not going to be,
Locked
coming
by
in white.
tradition and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, or you can tell that really by the clothes that they wear. Sometimes.
Yeah.
So the brides don't come in the usual white, and coming in they can come in whatever
Color
colors
they
they
use.
want.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the groom, or they don't. They want to have it in the beach. They want to have it in the mountain. They want it jumping off a helicopter or something.
Something like that. I heard of couples parachuting into their
Yes.
wedding and that sort of thing.
Yes, yeah. So that's tended to be like that, I think. But I think COVID must have shocked people into reality, and they're a bit more sober now.
Yeah.
And so so going back to how many people go to civil celebrancy and that civil actually as a celebrant, as a civil celebrant, it gives me actually a very the freedom to create a ceremony that can be also religious.
Yeah.
Most of my weddings
Yeah.
also depends on your client, right?
Yeah.
So most of the weddings that I conduct have always a religious aspect to it.
Oh, okay. Is it at their request, or is it something that you put in yourself
Well,
as a...
This is part of your kind of intuiting the people that come to you. You know how you attract the people that you're meant to do. You know, you're meant to relate with. I really believe that. So there is that spiritual component in that. Yeah, to answer your question, it's usually, I can see that they do. Like, for instance, most of my clients would be Filipinos, right? Filipinos, Americans, or Australians, or even Hindus, you know. I've had Hindu weddings and Buddhist weddings, and they want the spiritual part of it. But they just don't know that I could do it, that I would do it.
Okay.
They think,
You need to go to the actual religious figure to do it. Yeah.
yes, or they think that I would not want to do it because you're just a civil celebrant.
Yeah.
so, you know.
Look, and again, to be fair, they would know.
They would
They will know.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I always say, "Oh, I see that you are." They would say that, "Oh, they went to mass or something." Said,
Yeah.
"Oh, would you like to include a prayer or from the Bible or something like that?"
Something,
Yeah, I do sort of intuit that they would want it, and they would like it, and they would say, "Yes, please."
So do they want it, say, for the Hindu, for example, we wanted something from their own text or something that you already know, or you have to go and research that?
Yes, both. Some of them, I've had several couples who are Hindu, and they have a specific ritual that they do. So it can happen that they will have their spiritual priest to come and perform for about 3 hours. It's very, very long.
Wow, okay.
Before the actual civil wedding.
Yeah.
So we would go there. He's there ahead of me, or I've watched him do it, and it's a really extravaganza. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I've heard of Hindu weddings lasting for a few days or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, from the beginning, but the actual ceremony itself would be like hours, and they would have beautiful mantras and rituals and blessings, etc. And then when that's finished, I would come in, and they would come in, and they would set aside the stage for me to do it with the bride and the groom. And it's really lovely because I like the fact that they're welcoming the fact that I could say, I can do some, just a little mantra, like whatever is the short mantra that I would include, and they would be happy with that. And several times when I do a Hindu wedding, I go in my sari.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Is it as per their request, or you think it'll be something about that will fit in and they'll feel
both.
they prefer?
Because I would just say, "Oh, I think I can wear a sari if that's okay with you." And say, "Oh, yes, please, that'd be nice."
Okay.
Yeah. So I ask, "What color is your gown?" So that I won't sort of be too
clash or something that you don't know is a taboo or something like that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, and I know that they pretty much like Buddhists. They stay away from whites as well. Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think white is when they use
Mourning.
for
Mourning for funerals. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
don't want to. Yeah. So then it clashes with. We can go on to this modern weddings. So you have the white wedding, the white dress, and all that sort of thing. And then there's a big thing now. It's a bit of cultural appropriation. You've heard that you're not allowed to wear clothing from another culture. If that's a big thing that they're hitting people on and bullying people. They catch anyone doing that. You know, like anyone say, for instance, you or I, we put on one of those ponchos or a Mexican hat.
Oh,
that's a cultural appropriation.
All
that's a
right.
big no-no. But
In which country would that be?
Well,
in America.
I'm just saying, and now generally, I mean, the climate now, I don't know how in touch you've been that big thing about cultural appropriation. You can't do this. You can't wear someone else's clothes, or even big thing with blacks in America. They're saying, braids are a black thing. If you're not black, you can't have braids in your hair. A big dispute of that when other people coming, hang on. Braids have been used in this culture and for these thousands of years earlier, before, and so forth. So, big hoo-ha about it. So I guess a lot of people now, to be safe, they stay away from that, unless, I guess, because if they're partners in that, so then it's obvious they've got permission.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't come across that in my weddings. No one has said, "Oh, you shouldn't be wearing that because you're not such and such." Because, but in Filipino weddings, for instance, if the husband or the groom, say, is Australian,
it's not a Filipino, and
they would wear the barong Tagalog, which is the Filipino
male dress,
male shirt, which is kind of the formal, and it's really beautiful, and no one has objected or anything.
I think
that.
people are probably happy.
Yeah,
very pleased about it. Like he's paying respect.
Exactly, and it's almost like an embracing of the culture of the partner.
I guess it all comes down to intent. Really, it's done correctly and respectfully, or if it's done to mock.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, so
absolutely,
that's a big thing.
And always, I think, in a wedding, because the whole idea is unification and embracing of the other person's culture. And wedding is when two cultures or two lives or two families come together. And most of my weddings, I suppose, because it's always like mixed weddings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, most of them. Even if say one of the partners, one of the couple is like say Filipino, but she's been here, she's been born here,
and really
raised up like say an Australian.
Yeah.
But they want to have a Filipino ritual.
Yeah.
And so that is really a nice way of embracing also the families.
Yeah.
And very often there's
acknowledgement of their background and their culture and where they've come from, basically. Actually, an acknowledgement of themselves.
Yeah.
Recognizing that part.
Yeah. And that's interesting too, because you come across, and it's not my place to do it, to make any sort of saying that's good or bad or they're wrong, is that some people, say some Filipinos, if you like, they are in a quandary because they've been born here, they were raised here, they don't know, am I really a Filipino still, or that sort of thing. But then because their parents are saying, oh, have a bit of respect or a bit of acknowledgement and honoring of your, like their parents and, their whole heritage. Yeah. And they would say, okay, I'll do it. And then they do that.
Okay. All right, very interesting, Joy. And what we'll do, we might go to some music, and we'll be back, and I'll go into with you about what's been your experience with these weddings.
Yeah, okay.
any nice stories to tell? Was saying juicy stories to tell.
All right.
Okay. All right. And you're listening to 2GLF 89.3 FM, the Relationship Whisperer Show with Miss Dragonfly. Now, continuing with our special guests, Joy in the studio today, our spiritualist and marriage celebrant. Now, being a marriage celebrant, I guess people are wondering, what do things happen at weddings, And being the marriage celebrant there, can you tell which couples would last and which wouldn't, even at the wedding?
I try not to make any decisions or any kind of
Judgment?
judgment because
Yeah.
because you can never really tell, right? It's tempting to think that we can predict the future based on the energy dynamics that's happening there, but the matter is very complex. Truth is more complex. Say weddings are usually high emotive events.
Yeah.
So sometimes people are not really behaving as they would because everything is hyped up.
Yeah.
That's what you mean.
So, you mean they're not being themselves?
They're not, well, they're nervous and then they're tense and etc. You mean looking at them at the wedding itself or during the preparation for the wedding?
At the wedding, because you're being the marriage celebrant there.
Yeah. Well, I would have known the nature of a little bit of the relationship through the interviews I've had with them.
Yeah.
Right. So it's usually when they come to me to say they want to get married, and that's when I can gauge already their true relationship and how comfortable they are with each other. Why I'm saying that in vis-a-vis being at the wedding itself, because the wedding itself is almost like unnatural in the sense that they don't see each other for the day before, the night before, and so they're coming in almost like a different person. And the bride and the groom is sitting there with all his friends, such standing there with the the best man, everything and their family. So that is kind of a little bit unnatural in the sense that they're not really their comfortable self. So you can't really tell whether they themselves are relating in a way that you'd think, oh, this relationship will last because or they won't last because they're too nervous or they're not talking to each other. So you can't really gauge just from the marriage itself.
I mean, can you get a sense like one party is more into this wedding than the other person?
Yes. You can. I can already tell that from even before.
Yeah, it's like one is far more keen than the other.
Oh, yes.
And that kind of like gives you a feeling of saying, maybe it might not last because the other one's not really into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I can.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So it's almost like if it's not going to be positively hopeful that they're going to last, you can tell immediately. But if you see that, you can't really conclude that they won't.
Yeah.
By that I mean, I think of an example is, I had one wherein the groom was very eager and into the he was there ahead of time.
Yeah, and
all that, but the bride was not smiling.
Okay, that's a bit unusual because normally it's the other opposite. The bride is more keen than the groom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this particular one, the bride was almost not very engaged with the groom, and I thought. And I was looking for a sign that she was comfortable with him. And
you don't think she was forced?
No, she wasn't forced. I mean, that's always the number one thing that I need to
be aware of and alert and
from the very beginning. From the very beginning, so that now we have to have this conversation face to face with each of the parties. Before they didn't require this, but now they require that we interview the bride by herself, the groom by himself.
Separately.
Separately. So before they will just be sitting there in front of me, and then they will tell me their story and what they want. And normally it's usually, as you say, the girls are always keen on what they want. And they want the flowers this way.
I think so. Some women are more in love with the wedding itself than thinking about the marriage.
Yes. And having said that, I've had several couples who were in the groom was very much the driving force
of the wedding and getting married.
Yeah, getting married.
Unusual.
Unusual.
Yeah.
Well, it's usually when it's when I'm thinking back, it's usually when the groom, um, bride to be is from, say, the Philippines,
Yeah.
and they haven't really been together uh, as long as they should have. But it's not that there's a people say, oh, you're male bride. It's not like that.
Yeah.
They know each other. They've been sometimes they were friends and girlfriends in the Philippines for a long time, and then they got separated because
Yeah.
the guy came here to work, and they have this big gap in the middle of when they've been writing to each other. So there's always that situation where it might not be that way. It might be like they just met very casually, and then they started to write each other. And so when they came, it's like distance marriage, and then a distant relationship, and then when they actually came, they have to get used to each other. So they have to be like familiar with their, with being together. So you can tell that. And that's when the situation is where the guy is more
Into it
into
than she is.
Than she is, because she's the one planning it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've
Okay.
had also not just Filipinos, I've also Vietnamese
Yeah.
brides coming in, and not to put any sort of aspersions on them, because people's marriages and their decision to marry is only theirs, and the only thing that we have to make sure is that it is a fully consented, aware, and conscious decision, consent, with them having all the information that they need to have. So we can't say you can't get married because you're not really truly in love with her or something.
Okay, all right. But on that though, do you get an inkling of what the personal reasons of each partner why they're getting married then?
You can from the conversation.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about how they are behaving.
Yeah, well, you just get a feeling of why they're getting married. And one is just because they want to get married, or because their parents pushed them into it, or they truly in love, or they were convinced to get married by by the family or their partner.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You can tell when one is more into it than the other. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have not had one marriage, as far as I can tell, where the man was not into it. It was the girl.
Oh, okay. You haven't had, that's, I guess that'll be surprising to a lot of people, because people normally expect, women love that sort of romance and wedding, I guess, and dream of, and I guess a lot of women are guilty of that. They do all this planning for the wedding, but they don't really consider about the marriage itself. Is that saying? Yeah.
Not too much of that.
Not too much of that?
No, not from my experience. My experience.
Okay. Yeah. So it's and so could you tell the nature of the marriage from how the family or the guests react?
You can tell from that. You can tell from that. Well, I've got a recent wedding wherein this couple was a little bit. They were very much wanting to be on their own. The bride wasn't really very connected with. They weren't very connected with their parents.
Yeah. Right?
Usually because they're young people and they want to be alone. They want to live their own lives, and they don't want to be too much of their traditional thing. And then because they're getting married, so they have to involve family.
Yeah.
And you can tell that the parents had something to say about how the marriage should be. So there's a little bit of a kind of a tension there. Not tension, but a reluctance. Oh, why should we have that prayer? Why should we have that ritual? Why do we have to? But because they're wanting to do it because it'll please the family to have it. And and towards the end, when they actually get into it, they see the beauty of the ritual, and then they get
into it.
Get into it. Yeah. Because you must remember, there are different kinds of people who are getting married.
Yeah.
There are young people. There are elderly people. I've had a couple that this was their the second marriage.
For both partners?
For both partners.
Yeah.
One partner, this is her husband had passed away, and the guy he divorced his former wife. So not for her, but just divorced. So some of them are not like the young giddy, but they are really people who have lived life, and so they know what they want. They know what they've got left to want, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So and you have to take them as they are, and you have to take them with their dreams that this is what they want.
Okay. And so what are the more unusual things that have happened at the weddings you've conducted? You tell any funny stories or something unusual? Unexpected stuff?
Yeah, well, I did a beach wedding.
Okay, that sounds nice. Yeah,
it was lovely, and there was a very young couple. Very young couple, and it was in Jarvis Bay, and they wanted to buy the beach, and they said, "Okay, we'll just find a spot there, and we'll just have our wedding there." Okay, so we went. I went there, and I did it with them, but we had to walk down there, walk around the beaches to find out a spot. So if we hadn't found a spot, because then we would probably, because usually the first thing that the bride would like to do is have the venue, right? If it's outside, to make sure it's beautiful, they can decorate it. So this time we just went to a beach, and then we just sat down on the sand, and it was blowing, and my paperwork was blown in the wind, etc. But it was really fun. I really liked it. They enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then another one was, I got surprised by the fact that one of the there was somebody who rang me and said, "Oh, do you do weddings? Are you available to do a wedding in such and such a date?" And I said, "Yes, I can do that." And he said, "All right." So I thought it was a friend of his that he was going to, who was suggesting for me to marry. And in the end, it turned out that I couldn't even talk to that person because at first I rang that. Once I talked to that person, he gave me the number, and I rang that person. He got really upset that I rang that person. I said, "Why did you not pass through me?" He said, "Why should I pass through you? I have to really actually talk to the person herself or himself." And he said, "Oh, this is the first time I've had that. My client has been meeting somebody without my being present." I said, "You need not be present. You shouldn't be present, because this person, I have to really assess that this person really wants to get married." And so it turned out that he was an immigration consultant, and this is like a client thing. And I said, "No, I'm not allowed to do that. I have to be personally attending to this person myself."
Yeah.
And so I didn't take that wedding.
Yeah. Okay. Probably best not to then. Cases like that.
It was getting really suspicious.
So yeah. All right, then we'll go to some music, and we'll be back where we can actually talk about marriage itself with you. I'm sure you have lots of things to talk about regarding that particular subject.
Yeah,
all right?
Very interesting. Thank you.
And you're listening to 2GLF 89.3 FM, the Relationship Whisperer Show with Miss Dragonfly. And we are continuing with our interview with Joy, our special guest, who is a marriage celebrant and spiritualist. Now, on that, being, I know you're doing marriage celebrant, so you're wouldn't say into the love in this industry, but I guess you also have a spiritual view on what do you think makes a good marriage? I think people are keen to hear what you think about this subject. On the one hand, you're a marriage celebrant, so yeah, on that point, but also understand you do a lot of spiritual work as well. So can we get your take on it?
Yeah, doesn't mean to say I'm an expert on it in the sense that, I know all about it, because every marriage is unique. But basically, I guess a good marriage, I believe, is built on a foundation of deep mutual respect, genuine understanding of one another, and most especially an unwavering commitment. So it's not just about love, though that certainly is a vital point, but it's about partnership.
Yeah.
and being able to work together, because the feeling of love usually kind of morphs into, something else that is loving, but not necessarily the first kind of romantic love that you would know.
Yeah. But
Especially young people.
Yeah, I would say though, I think this happens time and again. Always, people tend to pick their partners based on that moment, that feeling at that moment, which is the love. And I guess, not many people actually realize that you're saying you're picking your life partner, the partner to go through journey through life with you, and with all that implications. But people don't put the thought into more deeply and all the implications. So yes, love is very important. And yes, the commitment and so forth and that. And I think people don't understand that, because I realize myself, but that very few people actually understand what a marriage is.
Yes,
That's the point.
yes.
And then they say, because when you actually ask someone directly, it's like they're put on the spot and they cannot answer, and they answer in legal terms. It's a legal commitment when you sign your documents and so forth. But this is the thing, I blame parents for this, not actually teaching, because society is not teaching. They're just teaching about make sure you enjoy yourself, enjoy the moments, rather than thinking of anything deeper. So I actually put a lot of blame on parents, because they've already been through that. So you should know. So why aren't you passing that knowledge down to your children? But then it also there's a lot of spiritual stuff, and particularly the religious, like my understanding of Christian, especially Catholic, is no divorces, because this is the commitment you've made for life. And I understand where they're coming from with that, in that you've got to, plot through and stick to it, put your effort into. I guess there's the intention, and it's very good intention. But what I am actually find that they have a shortcoming with is they don't emphasize, yes, do all that. That's what it should be. However, you're not teaching people how to choose the right partner so that it can last that long. And it's not, and people, you're not compatible with everyone. Like I said, it's only select people that you are compatible with, that you can go through that. And when people kind of like break up, I guess it's human nature, because they weren't compatible to begin with. And then that is my thing. Yes, all those wonderful things in marriage and all the deep commitment and love and so forth would happen, but it's only if you pick correctly that you can do that. I mean, I can walk out there and get outside and just pick the random guy. And do you think we would have we would match on everything, that we can last the next few decades together? You can't. But this comes back to human nature as well. So, I believe, do you have anything like actually teaching people or emphasizing that you have to pick correctly, that there is a match?
Yes.
Some is a match and some you don't.
Yeah, but sometimes, in life, you can't have the luxury of knowing which is the match that's for you, because a relationship is usually a very complex thing. And in life, we don't come into life, into a relationship, like knowing all the places, everything in place. And then now I know, okay, I know all the thing about you, so I can match you. Unless, you have this magic thing that, like astrology, if I think that we might be.
Yeah, and that's what I do. And
right. But there are a lot of forces that come together that blurs even that kind of, for me, in my opinion, some people come together because they need to come together. It's like, say, there are different kinds of relationships. Like there's a karmic relationship.
Yeah.
There is a relationship of twin flames. I would like to talk about that a bit later. And also soulmates. So a lot of these relationships, sometimes we have to go through them in life, because maybe in this lifetime you need to be with that person because you need to balance some karma with that person. Okay? And that person could be your twin flame. That person could be a karmic thing, or that person could be soulmate. But you will still need to balance certain things with each person. So, but there is, of course, a a moment where once you've done all these things that you've done in the past life, that you do remember, the soul remembers, the soul knows that, and because there is another aspect in this whole thing, which is your life is not just guided by your decisions. There is other level wherein there's what they call the laws of karma. Yeah, okay. These are people that are cosmic beings that talk about, look at your life and see, because our goal in life is to become one with firstly your twin flame. Well, eventually your twin flame. I'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah.
But eventually your highest of God, if you know what I mean. So that could be God the Father. It could be Brahman. It could be in my language. It could be like your I am presence, the fullness of God.
So yeah, it's a lot, but I think a lot for our audience to take in, and then so we start. Well, what does karma have to do with relationships? We go back to the very basic.
Yeah.
How does that gel with relationships? What role does that play in a relationship, a love relationship, in a marriage?
Yeah. Karma, firstly, is the result of your action. Right, whether it's a negative consequence or a positive.
Yeah.
So I can't. Whatever we do in the one lifetime. So I'll have to move into the concept of reincarnation here, because if we are given a chance, an opportunity to make of our lives, each life, the best that it can be, and sometimes. We don't fulfill our karma. We don't balance our karma in one lifetime.
Yeah.
So we are given the opportunity to do it again in another lifetime.
But for a lot of, I guess, Hindus and Buddhists, the way you balance your karma is like you haven't quite, you still have a debt to the universe or whoever it is. And so when you reincarnate in your next life, and where the circumstances you're born and where you're born, that's a reflection of your debt. So you can go down and be reborn in a lower socioeconomic class, a much poorer person. Let's say if you're really arrogant aristocrat in your previous life, okay, then this is your come uptons, so to speak. You get to be reborn as a beggar or someone from a very broken home, so to speak. Or if you've God forbid, you raped that person in your previous life, in this life now, be reborn, you're now, that person that you raped is now your tormentor. You're stuck in domestic violence where you get beaten by that person now. And, even in a Western country, that's illegal. Okay, there are refuges for women and so forth, domestic violence, but some people just cannot get out of that situation for some reason or another. And I guess from a Buddhist point of view, until you paid your debt, so to speak, once you paid it, the situation automatically resolves itself, then you can leave. So it's not a nice thing to say to someone, a domestic violence victim or viewer, but at the back of it, that's also one of the dynamics of why it happens that explains it in Buddhist karma. So how does that relate to how you understand it? Is that the same or is it different?
It's the same. I mean, it's got the principle is correct. That, as you sow, you shall reap, and because you might want to pay off the debt.
Yeah, sometimes it's involuntary, like being the domestic violence victim.
Yes. So I think if I talked about firstly the idea of twin flames, you might see how the whole concept of why one person has to be in a situation of a karmic relationship, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because when we first were created as one. Each person has what they call a twin flame. We were created as a one being, and then the twin flames are like two halves of that one being. And the ascended masters, that's in the spiritual narrative that I'm familiar with, I believe, that when the two souls were initially one, and then they became they became
one soul or two souls?
two souls.
Two souls initially
Yeah,
become
but
one.
but they have the same blueprint.
Yeah.
They have the same blueprint. It's almost like you're looking at a mirror and you're the other one, or looking at a positive picture, and then the negative is that picture, but only reflected or manifested as the positive or the negative, right? So male, female.
Yeah, kind of like the Taoist yin and yang.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
like it. Yeah, it's interrelated, not exactly opposites, complementary, and each has a germ of the other. Yeah, for a lot of people, if they can remember, you have the white side and the black
Yes.
side, but
Yeah.
the white side has a black dot, and the black side has a white dot. So each has a germ of the other. And so what I find it easier to explain to people is just think of male and female, where women do have some testosterone and men do have some estrogen. Yeah, that's undeniable. It's backed up by science. So you have a bit of the other.
Yeah. But the soulmate is not just any other soul. The soul. Oh, sorry.
It's a twin flame. Yeah.
The twin flames. The twin flames are really the one, and then they become they when they separated, not because they separated necessarily. They came into embodiment, the two of them together. But then when one has a karma against the other, like whatever.
One owes the other person. One owes the other. Is that what you mean by a karma?
Karma, like if one does harm to the other person
In a previous life?
in that particular, first, like at the very beginning.
Oh, yeah.
The very beginning, and that's when they start to split. And when they re-embody, they can either re-embody within the same environment, the same lifetime, depending on what the karma is. It could be that the karma will separate them, so they will have to find in another lifetime. It might not be the next lifetime, because there's, as I mentioned earlier, like the laws of karma, and there's called the law of cycles. We don't know what the cycles are. We don't know what composes the cycles. That when the person might not embody in that same lifetime as the other person. So you're already disjointed. And so, but they're always tied together. They're linked together, and sometimes the magnetic pull between the two can be so intense, right? That when they come together, they're still going to be not healed, and so they can still harm each other or hurt each other.
Are they always male and female? One male and one female?
That's the other thing too.
Yeah.
So sometimes you cannot have a relationship when the person could be both male or both female, depends upon your beliefs, right? Or one could be a mother and the other one could be a child.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be a love relationship,
no.
A romantic love relationship,
No,
so to
so
speak.
the twin flames and any other person that you have made karma with, whether there's a soulmate or any other soul that's got nothing to do with you in terms of your karma or your identity, you could you might still have to come together in order to pay off that debt.
So do twin flames, they always one owes the other? Is that the dynamics of how it works? Because just for the benefit of our audience, so a lot of people or majority would never have heard of the term twin flame.
Yes.
So it needs some clarification.
Sure.
And the difference between twin flame and a soulmate.
Yes.
Most people are aware of that term,
Yeah.
soulmate,
Yes.
but never heard of twin flame. So if you can just you just explain the difference
The twin flames is a unique relationship. You only have one twin flame
in your whole
in
lifetime.
your whole life, because that's the one that you were created as, together.
And if you're
And that relationship between that person is so unique and so intense that you will always be looking for it in your lifetime. It could be like you might not meet that person in this lifetime. That person could be in another country, depending on what else is done. So when you're separated,
would you ever meet? Are you supposed to ever meet your twin flame in your lifetime?
you could.
You could, or it doesn't necessarily mean you
Doesn't
will.
necessarily will. But this is where the spiritual aspect comes in.
Yeah, because if you don't meet your twin flame, then you can't pay back your debt or whatever to them.
But you can in a spiritual sense. You can, and this is where the violet flame, which is a spiritual prayer that you can unite. You can even now, without necessarily having to meet your twin flame, unite with your twin flame. If you just close your eyes and then you enter yourself and you really become, you know yourself, and you connect with the deepest part of yourself, you are connecting with your twin flame. Have you ever felt that?
I say no. No.
Yeah, when you come to this moment, if you might think that you're relating with God, yeah, but God is in you, and God has created that really deepest aspect of yourself. So when you're uniting with God, with your I am presence, you're actually uniting also with your twin flame, wherever the twin flame is in cosmos. Your twin flame could actually be an ascended master, could actually be a very, very high soul, and in another level.
So how would you identify who your twin flame is then?
Well, if it is your good fortune, if like your good karma, that you are meant to meet your twin flame in this lifetime.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. You will recognize it. It's like there's normally there will be a time when you can't, depending upon what karma you've had with the other, because it could be like you're so blinded you can't even really see. That you may be sitting next to your twin flame and you don't realize that.
Yeah, so how could you recognize then?
Well, when you transmute your karma, you transmute your own self, you will just necessarily have the intuition, because the attraction is very strong. The recognition is very strong, apparently. And you'll just feel like there is... that you've known that person for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of the soulmates also have the same thing, but there is this pull. Let me just give you an example. Of twin flames. Have you ever heard of Jeanette MacDonald? And probably not.
No,
no, probably not. Or well, maybe who's the other one? There's the other guy. Well, that was Jeanette Nelson's twin flame. So if you have a twin flame, you will know that person. Oh, there are many twin flames, in fact. Well, I can't. If I mention them, you'll probably think that it's so far off. Yeah, Mary Magdalene and Jesus were twin flames, but people might not relate to that, and people could probably even be shocked by that.
Yeah.
But if I say like Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Johnny Cash and June Carter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you can tell that when they meet, they have this, oh my God, like you can see them together. And the love story of Johnny Cash and June Carter is cited as an example in real life. Their relationship was marked with intense passion, mutual support, and deep, almost spiritual connection. And there's always that commitment, like they were married to some people, and then when they saw each other, they just knew that they had to be together. They had to be together.
So it would be something like Humphrey Bogart and Katharine Hepburn. They never married each other,
yes.
but they had that, connection with each other, and the media going on. Yeah. Why didn't they ever marry? They seem to be such soulmates, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a very good example, actually, and then probably clearer for people because they're probably more
aware of familiar with Humphrey. Is it Humphrey Bogart?
Humphrey Bogart. Lauren Bacall was the other one.
Hang on. It was Katharine Hepburn. Well, who was the guy that was it? Maybe it wasn't Bogart, but I think something Spencer Tracy. Spencer Tracy. Yeah, that's it.
Yes,
Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah. You can tell when they're together, there's that chemistry that's just beyond they're good together. But they're really that sort of magnetic thing. And they're that magnetic thing that they can't sort of, even if they did eventually marry each other. And usually twin flames don't end up like that.
Are you supposed to marry your twin flame?
Not necessarily.
No?
But you can be, because as I said, you can be united because the thing is you have to balance your karma. Once you balance your karma, and it is like you might be able to meet in heaven or in the next life or in another level. Yeah, you can't, because your karmas are different. Like if you somebody could have already balanced 100% of their karma, and this person, another person is just still struggling because he just couldn't make it.
Yeah.
You know, so the other person pulls them up, helps them on the inner level, helps them like say in the case of Jesus and
Mary Magdalene.
Mary Magdalene. Jesus had, you can imagine, right? As an avatar, he was this. He was really 100%. He already ascended. He was the Lord of the, the Savior of the world, in Christian terms. But Magda, who was also embodied as Louis Semple McPherson, was the first name. Amy Semple McPherson. She was the one that she was still left behind. In the 20th century, she was still alive and still balancing her karma. So Jesus was there already, but they were in the inner levels. You are united, inner levels. You are one, and she could feel. That's why she was so passionate about Jesus, about evangelizing and getting Jesus to people's hearts. So there's that pull, and so when she finally ascended through balancing her own karma through the use of the violet flame. Because the violet flame accelerates your balancing of your karma. And that is why and how she finally ascended and then united. There are a lot of what we would call ascended masters whose twin flame is still in embodiment.
They're not quite there.
Not quite there yet. So you have a twin flame. Everyone has a twin flame.
So how are they specifically different from soulmates? What's a soulmate then?
Yeah.
Give us a definition with the soulmate.
All right. A soulmate is like somebody, a distinct person, right? Who is not your soul, who is not your twin flame, but whose karma is very close to yours and whose dharma is very close, dharma being your mission. And they're very often your qualities are very similar. And then you can in fact, have a beautiful relationship with your soulmate that's not as intense and turbulent. Because usually the karma, the relationship of twin flames can be very turbulent, very intense, just like those people that I was telling you about. So the soulmate has the same harmonious relationship, harmonious characteristic, harmonious karma, harmonious mission to yours. And sometimes these relationships turn out to be better marriages because they're more harmonious. They're more people can last the wedding, last the marriage.
Distance,
yeah. Even if you're together, we are more likely to marry our own soulmates. Yeah. Because people are more likely, because there'll be lots of soulmates, only one twin
flame. But between the two, which one should you be marrying, soulmate or twin flame?
Depends on your calling in life.
If it's
if you have to choose,
if you have to choose,
standing there in front of you, and they're available in the sense that it's
if you're in one of the lucky few that has that choice,
I would say if it doesn't hurt too many people, because it could be. A twin flame could be like married with 7 children or something like that, or whatever.
Yeah, but if it was free choice, which one?
Of course,
which one?
You would marry your twin flame.
It's a twin flame.
Yeah,
okay.
Because
All right. Okay. It's time for us to go to some music, and it's getting a very very deep discussion. So
we have one more thing, and this is very important. That's the karmic relationship.
Okay. So we'll go to some music, and we'll be back on karmic relationships. And you're listening to 2GLF 89.3 FM, the Relationship Whisperer Show with Miss Dragonfly, where we discuss all things relationships with the aim to make marriage great again. And in the studio today, we have our special guest, Joy, who is a marriage celebrant and also a spiritualist. And we are continuing our talk regarding karma now. So in terms of karma and so forth, you've touched a bit about it before the break. And regarding karma, so regarding like I always proudly, basically you have to think of yourself as a team, as a unit. And in effect is two becomes one. And in terms of Taoist philosophy and so forth. But in terms of what you do you also subscribe to the same thing, but two becoming one?
Yes.
Yeah.
That is really, we have a Father, Mother, God, which
Yeah.
is Alpha, Omega,
Yeah.
which is male, female energies.
It's just like the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
In Taoism.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people don't. You see so many people wearing that symbol around and like hippies, and they think it's so cool. But I guarantee not many of them actually really understand what it means.
Because it's like the battery, like in the polarity of the positive and the negative. The two are essential, and they relate with each other. And when they come together, you create this fantastic energy, great energy, and that it could be a cosmos we'd be born, right? So actually the positive and the negative energy, or the alpha and omega in whole of cosmos is present. Like every single bit that is present that we can touch has actually the positive and the minus. So for in terms of the twin flame, they're the positive and the negative. They are of such a relationship that it has to be the exact positivity and exact negativity that they will come together. Yeah.
Otherwise, they don't meet, or
well, they would meet, but not in that perfect way that will create the best optimal for that particular couple, that particular twin flame couple. Because each one of us has a twin flame, and each one of us is a universe in its own self. That's what we were created for, because we're created by our Father, Mother, God. And what God has joined together, as we say, let man not put asunder. That's the traditional idea of, in the Christian church, they quoted from the Bible that what what God has joined together in marriage, people should not be separated. I know that's very controversial.
Yeah.
But if you think of it in terms of the spiritual side of it, it simply means that positive and negative energies are so important and critical in the existence and sustainment of that particular reality. If you don't have that, it will dissipate. It will disappear. So in other words, if there was two positive energies together or two negative energies together, it's not the same.
It's not the same. Is it also kind of like, well, in terms of the yin and yang, people don't quite get it. There's complementary. It's sound like day and night, and masculine and a feminine. So that's why it's always a positive and a negative energy, with the yin and the yang. You have the masculine energy and the feminine energy, positive energy and negative energy, just like a right hand and a left hand. It doesn't work if you've got two right hands. Who wants two right hands even though your right hand is always stronger than your left?
Right.
Or who wants two left hands? I don't say, but I say more often two right hands. People can see the difference.
Yeah.
Because it's even though your left hand is generally weaker than your right hand, you don't use it as often. That's why it's weaker. But you'll really miss it if it's not there. And if you've got another right hand, you don't want another right hand.
No, because the energies are different, but they're complementary. Right?
They are complementary.
They kind of need each other, because if one is too much for the other, then that relationship or that interaction of energy becomes wonky.
Very balanced.
And imbalanced. And it can be very destructive.
So is it a case of one partner being far more active and say doing everything, and the other partner is just very much, what do you call, passive in the relationship? You just stand back for the ride, so to speak?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean?
Yes, that's kind of indicative of that we need a two together, but within the masculine itself, there has to be also a feminine part of him.
Yeah.
And the same with a woman. There has to be like a masculine in terms of more assertion. So
that's like that dot on the other ones. Like I described, there's always like women have some testosterone, men always have some estrogen.
Yeah.
That's a very minor thing, but they still need it.
Yeah.
We both of us, we need something of the other, a bit.
And it's very important because then it becomes, as I just said, imbalance, and then that person will not develop. So if for example, a woman would be just so passive and, just waiting for things to happen or waiting for somebody to help her, the husband to help her, the same way she has to also become assertive and have a bit more, we call it aggression probably, but assertion. Otherwise, things won't get moving. So if one of them, but if he doesn't have compassion either, then that compassion or that tenderness is very important as well. But sometimes that tenderness won't be able to make it if she doesn't have the assertion as well, but she has to survive.
Yeah.
In other words, in each of us, we have to have both the positive and the negative. And circumstances can be that, how many people have, lived in a very challenging situation wherein a woman will have to be very, very strong. Otherwise, she won't survive. The family won't survive if the husband stays absent. So you see, that's how critical and crucial this balance is of the male and female energies in any situation. Because if they're not there together, then that organism will dissolve.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, because you mentioned about karma before. So I think this is something, going on from that. I mean, they both have different levels of karma. Karma, though, one might be, end up having good credits, the other one having negative credits, so to speak. So in your view, what happens when they come together?
Oh, yeah. Well, what happens is that
if the two becomes one.
Yeah. Well, there will be, of course, consequences. Like the person will get the good, like in marriage. You're carrying on. You're agreeing to take on both the good karma and the negative karma of each other.
Yeah.
So, and if that person is not conscious enough, or is not spiritually evolved, or is not wanting to evolve, then it could drag
the other person down.
It could destroy the relationship, and they could make even more karma. So,
okay, so in that respect, do you think that they both people that marry then should have equal amounts of karma to get together?
Well, they should know each other. They should. You should be very wise about who you're wanting to marry, who you ending up marrying.
Yeah, because I know I see it when I do relationship compatibility readings on couples, and I look at the couples charts, and I can see the nature who's going to benefit more out of this pairing. Who's going to be dragged down more with this pairing straight away. I can see. And then it's kind of like up to the couple. Well, the person that's going to be the giver, they might say they don't mind, okay, but after a while, they get wary. They get tired of just having it sucked out. And I guess I can see who is. You need to get something back from your partner as well. It's not just being a giver. It's fine being a giver, but we're all human, and eventually you're going to have resentment. Resentment will develop. It's just human nature, because I work a lot based on human nature advice, because that's the way people are. We cannot change people as big. We cannot try to prevent them being something they're not. It's cruel, and you can't do it. Please don't try to change people. Knowing that, I work with the human nature. How do we get someone to always stick around? What's the human nature that would be? That is, if you make staying with you enjoyable, then that person will automatically stay around. That sort of thing. So, but also, in terms of karma, so if, say, the husband has bad karma, who cops it?
Well, both him and the wife,
So you've transferred a bit. Anyone else, or just them?
Of course, everyone around them too. Because if there's a family, those are children. Children will always cop whatever their parents have, So because they're living in the same environment. Yeah. So they'll grow up maybe idolizing or following the example of whoever it is that they want to follow. Like, so if a husband is like lazy or whatever, then they would say, "Oh, that must be the best way to do it. I will just grow up like my father," and you can see that, or my mother, or so. It's not just between the two of them because we are really a community. We are always affected by karmic around us, the karma situation.
Because the way we see it, okay, is in terms of children who get children, it's the daughters that get the karma from the father, the sons get it from the mother. So, and the saying goes is a man eats salty, his daughters get thirsty. Okay, you understand that saying? Yeah. And so the mother could be an absolute angel, but if she doesn't have sons, only daughters, daughters don't benefit anything from her good karma, because they're the daughters. They have to rely on it from the father. So that is the thing here.
Like the fathers are very typically, or that they're close to their daughters, and the sons are close to their mothers. I mean, you can see that.
You can,
you can see something like that. I mean, there's that connection, stronger connection.
But you want to say it sounds like it's unfair, and then the woman does all this good, and her daughters don't benefit anything. But I don't make the rules. But that's the way how it works out.
I just want to comment on that, of course, that every person has their own free will. To want to evolve, right? So we can't just say it's human nature in my thinking, because human nature is also every person is not just human. You have a spiritual aspect to it, and you can decide to evolve. You can decide to balance. You can decide to be illumined. You can decide to be better than you are now. You are not just a victim of your circumstance or a victim of your genealogy, because the soul has free will. The soul is spiritual, and there is that spark in the soul that reminds you of God, that you are God. You're divine. That's my whole title of my book that I've just published. It is Reclaiming Your Divinity, and that's for everyone. There's no one person who says, "Oh, that's not for you." It's everybody can reclaim your divinity, because we were created with a divine spark in us, and this is the divine spark that will lead us also not only to God but also to your twin flame, because the same divine spark is in your twin flame.
A lot of spiritualists, though, think that you should marry someone because you have karma with that person. I'm going off on what you're saying, isn't that's the only way to reduce their karma then, if they put the dirt on someone else. That's a dirt case, someone else carries some of their dirt for them. Give him some of my good credits, so to speak.
Yeah, well, people in a way do that, but it's actually, well, the more enlightened you are, the more you want to preserve the light that you have, okay? That's not mean to say that you cannot help people. You should. I mean, we always do anyway, whether we want it or not. That person did you karma before too, or you did. We never know when you could do tit for tat or tat for tit, but you can. This is where the spiritual aspect comes in, because you can then even balance karma with that person, not necessarily physically or being in the same. You can balance through prayer, through the violet flame. You could have been Genghis Khan, who has killed the whole,
the whole village.
The whole village.
Yeah.
You can't be balancing for each person. You probably, and then you could, if the karma comes back to you, you could probably get wiped out, because you don't have the light to sustain it. So first, it's so important that each person evolves herself or himself, so that then also therefore means that there might have been somebody who had been praying for you, that you do get that gift of, suddenly enlightenment, that, this is not the only life. And you might even say, I'll bear this suffering, rather than feeling that, why is life so bad for me? And then, and then it makes more karma. So there is an enlightenment, it's a moment. And that's why there are people who come to earth, like Jesus, to help us, or Buddha, or Krishna, all these the great avatars that tell us, this is not life. It's not just this very limited parameter of life. There is a whole meaning layers of meaning and reasons why we are where we are. But we have also these tools, spiritual tools, for you to be enlightened, to find out what it is you can do. And these are what they call the ascended masters. These are the saints that have gone through all the same kind of traumas that we are going through now, and find a way. Find a way, because you can imagine how people who don't get enlightened, they can go back and forth, re-embodying, embodying, re-embodying, making mistake, re-embodying. How can you ever pass a day where you haven't made a mistake?
I think many people.
Yeah, can you imagine if you did karma like that? I mean, you'll never get out of here. That's why, you've been here for thousands of years. It's almost like stunning even to even contemplate that. So we need to get out of here. So out of this, birth, rebirth, because it's all Maya. This is not the reality. Reality, you have to go through where it's really the real life, and that's the spiritual life. Spiritual life is not boring. It's actually more exciting than this life. Have to look for a parking, and then get through the traffic and all that sort of thing, day after day after day after day. We don't want to live. That's not life.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fascinating. And so what we do, we'll go see some music and we'll be right back. And you mentioned you have a book, so we'll discuss your book after this break.
Okay.
Great. And you're listening to TGLF 89.3 FM, the Relationship Whisperer Show with Miss Dragonfly. And we are continuing our talk with our special guest today, Joy, in the studio. And Joy, I'm sorry, but I should have asked you to clarify with all these spiritual talk and all the spiritual themes that you've mentioned and you brought up today. I guess people are going to wonder, is this from Christianity? Because you've mentioned lots of elements with Jesus and so forth. So is it a school, a branch of Christianity that you're from?
Very good question, yes. Actually, it's all of Christianity, as well as all the different major religions in the world. It's the core of the truth that is in all the religions, and also East and West.
Yeah.
And also Christianity included. Some people might think that's an Eastern religion, but it's become Western as well, isn't it? Being in Rome and all that. So, it's like... well, the truth is only one.
So is it like a blend of religions? You've taken the best parts of each religion? Is that
we're taking the truth in all the religions, only the one truth, and yes, some religions would have very much their own culture in it. For example, Hindus and and the Buddhists. Well, we take the truth, the universal truth. It's called the Summit Lighthouse. They're the ones that also talk about these very fantastic and beautiful, very profound teachings.
Wow.
Of the natures of the masters of East and West. They're called Ascended Masters.
Yeah.
Ascended Masters, Jesus, own Ascended Master.
Are they like saints?
Yes.
In that sense?
In that sense they are, but it has a deeper concept, because the Ascended Masters are not just saints, and they were good people that did a lot of good, but they may not have ascended. Ascension is a very specific event in a soul's life. Jesus ascended. Some of the saints that have said, Mother Mary had ascended, and Elijah and all the saints that we know in the Christian would have, in the Christian or in the biblical Judaic religion, they would have ascended. It means that they have stopped the realm of birth and rebirth. They have now freed their soul from the clutches, if you like, of the physical form and the physical karma of coming to embody, because they would have balanced 100% of their karma. But now, if we have a dispensation wherein 51% of our karma can be if we can balance that in this lifetime, we can ascend. That is a new dispensation, and the rest of the karma, the 49%, if you still have them or whatever is left of that karma, can be balanced from the etheric or the higher levels by prayer, by helping people on earth, you can still make karma. Karma is simply a result, consequence of your action.
The way as I explained karma to people in universe is just think of like science, every action has an equal and opposite effect, and every system strives to achieve equilibrium. I mean, just mention a hot day, you open your car door, it's so hot in there, and outside the temperature is lower, so immediately all the hot air drives out, so the temperature in the car can be the same as the outside, so they can balance, and so it's kind of like, okay, if you have given out bad karma, did bad deeds, then there's an imbalance. So something bad has to come to you to rebalance it. So the way, if like I am a metaphysicist, I do readings, and the 3 things that influence how well you do in this life is one is, of course, your birth chart, your astrology, your feng shui, your environment, and 3, your own deeds. So if you don't have good, going for a bad year, going in the bad year, living in not so good a place, you can balance it up by generating some good for yourself by doing good deeds. And because you've done good deeds, then you've unbalanced it. So the universe has to send you good to you to rebalance it. So that's how you can help yourself, so to speak. And so that's how I normally explain to people, and then they get it in those terms. So is that similar to
essentially
the same
it's the
thing?
same. Yeah. Essentially, is the fact that you want to have a balance of energies that make it very optimal for yourself. But but when you talk about ascension, it's really you going into. It's a matter of vibration, right? The higher your vibration is, the higher the level of the environment that you're living in. And you're not just your environment, like your yoga and your feng shui, because it's all about optimal and being harmonious and being raising your energy and raising your consciousness to a level wherein you're the happiest and then most fulfilled.
So what happens when you don't get 51%?
Well, the rest of you have the balance is you get by doing good works, by prayer in the etheric retreat, in the next level.
So it's like, you still have to, and as I understand it, it almost sounds like this is Christianity with reincarnation, plus reincarnation. Yeah,
yes.
That's correct if I'm going to put it that way.
Yeah, there's a lot of you're right. Like the saints, the people that the Catholic Church canonizes as blessed, right? As blessed, and they're waiting for something to happen in the spiritual world so that that person now has good enough karma, if you like, and good karma that they can be called a saint.
Yeah.
But in the Ascended Master's teaching, it's not just being very good. It's how you have to go through the highest vibration that you will propel your soul into becoming, into freeing from this particular realm, the physical karmic realm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And okay, we're coming towards the end of our of our show, but we just want to have a talk because you mentioned that you wrote a book. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. Well, this is all written in my book called Reclaiming Your Divinity.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it's based on what I mentioned earlier before, that we were created as sons and daughters of God. Really, we had the divine spark in us, because when God first created us, He put us into the vibration of the earthly vibration, the matter sphere. In the beginning, matter was good. Matter was supposed to be just a reflection of the spirit, were in matter, in this vibration, this realm of the 5 dimensions, right? Touch, feel, etc. But they were good. But then when man's consciousness fell, that matter became corrupted. So matter wasn't supposed to be corrupted. Matter was just a beautiful nature, the beautiful roses, the music that is all reflective of a state of being which is enlightened, which is high, okay? And that's why you have feng shui in order to create that environment where all the energies work very well, and you have, what was the other second?
The astrology, yeah.
The astrology. So astrology is supposed to be the cosmos giving you the energy, because the cosmos is almost like a reflection of the energy of mankind. Like the moon, I won't go to that, but how as above, so below, as within, so without. So how you are within will be reflected in the environment that you have. So the idea was to have spirit and matter reflect each other, like in the terms of energies. That would be spirit would be the positive energy, and then matter would have been the omega, which have reflected it. So what is beautiful in the spirit is now manifested in matter. So earth would have been beautiful. Eden was beautiful. And then when the consciousness of people fell and they became corrupt, and they became lustful, and they became disobedient, they became warlike, and they became angry, and then that whole idea of the beauty of the perfection of spirit just disintegrated again.
Okay.
Yeah. But also, again, it's a matter of vibration, because people can be in the world but not of the world, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to be in the world.
So you're explaining all that in your book. You're saying,
yes.
So, I think, a lot of people of our audience and our listeners, if I think this this show has given them a good intro into that spiritual world. But I guess for more information and to have it explained even more clearly, I guess they can read your book.
Yeah.
So where can they get a hold of your book?
Yeah, Reclaiming Your Divinity is available, the second edition, via Amazon.
Okay.
And it can be either as Kindle ebook or as a paperback.
Paperback. Okay. And do you also do your workshops as well? I think mentioned you do. Yeah.
Yes, we have.
And your lecture?
Yeah, a lecture on twin flames and soulmates.
Oh, okay.
And karmic. We just talked a lot about that. So if you want to understand that a bit more and go into a workshop where we can transmute, how can you find out a twin flame? How can we balance our karma with whoever we are? That will, hopefully be explained. And we have mantras, so we have exercises, we have meditations. We will talk about the violet flame, where we will transmute all whatever separates us, well, as much as we can. It's not an instant thing; it's a daily thing, because we created our karma all our lives.
Yeah.
So we have this dispensation, or this, I would call it a miracle formula of the violet flame, which would accelerate that balancing of the karma.
Okay.
So it's twin flames.
How can people contact you then?
Well, they can contact me either by phone, or if they could email me on divinityreclaimed@gmail.com.
Okay.
And they can maybe contact, can I say this phone number?
Oh, yeah, up to you. Yes, you can say the phone number.
They can ring me on 0425 264 642.
Okay. Yeah. That's it. Well.
And we also have a Facebook page.
You have a Facebook page as well.
Page is called Sydney Teaching Center Summit Lighthouse.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just Facebook, Sydney Teaching Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. We've gone through a lot of things. I think it's been a big eye opener for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people, you hear spiritual stuff, is like, yeah. But I think a lot of people don't actually really understand. And there's not many people that actually go into explaining about spiritual stuff. And it's a connection, and especially in this important topic and area of relationships. Yes. I mean, look, at the end of it, we all want to be loved. I mean, I've never come across anyone that says they don't want to be loved. Okay. And
we're all created out of love.
We all created love. Yeah. And we all want true love. And it's a big thing. And you've given us a rundown of what bit of background is you as a marriage celebrant, being sanctifying that marriage, but I guess also going through the spiritual realm of a marriage. And I think that's also what's lacking and people going into marriage not really thinking of all the implications and what they're supposed to do and act in a marriage and what it really implies. I think like it's a really much two becomes one. Okay, you're no longer it's me and an I, it's a we and an us kind of thing. And a lot of people, I guess, the way after they have this grand wedding and they're so up in wedding, and then afterwards it's just like two people that happen to live together. That's the way they act, and I guess that's also the way they think.
That's why it's very important for the person to know themselves. It becomes a path of evolution,
and actually know that you're taking on. It's not just you anymore. It's just with the partner, the person that you've chosen to be together for the rest of your life. Now, whether or not it ends up that way, you should have the intention going into it. That is what it means, and that's what you intend to do. Yeah, you agree?
Yeah. It's for life. I mean,
it is for life, and and for that, I tell people to please take a lot of care, and it's the choosing in the first place that makes or breaks, really. And that's why I do what I do, and in the astrology, I mean, you do what you do to impart people in spirituality, and I just make sure that it is correct. And I guess the main thing with astrology, good thing is people cannot lie. You know, people putting in the front because they want the relationship, particularly if the other party is very rich. You know, there's always going to be gold diggers. And I guess in a way you can't blame them because it's human nature. We all want a good life. And we all prefer to have an easy life. And so that's why there's so many people hangers on and people around people that are wealthy. It's human nature. So, rightly or wrongly, it's human nature. And I guess with astrology, they cannot lie because it shows up, and they can't even give you. It doesn't even work if they give you a fake date of birth, because that's where I generate from. It's from the date of birth. That's also a reflection of their karma. That's why they were born into. That's why given that chart, born at that time, it's a result of their karma beforehand. The previous life, if they had a good karma, they have a good chart. This life, that's when they have an easier life. If they were bad, they're born in that, they dictate they have to have a hard life. So that's the chart that they were given, that they have to have. And someone that wants to lie, they can't even give a false date of birth because they would have no idea whether or not that's going to be compatible with their target who they want to please. So that's a thing. I see it as a tool, and a very good tool as well. Like I actually did come across a twin flame couple, as you mentioned with twin flame. They said they were twin flames, but I had a look at their charts, and I could see why they were attracted to each other so much that they thought that they were twin flames. But I personally would not have recommended that match because they changed each other. And with me, I guess it's human nature. You need to be yourself. You need to, if your partner reaffirms it or helps you to feel being what you want to be, that's the best. It's just like, you try to reach that thing a bit too high, but if someone can just grab that for you and give it to you, that's satisfaction. You fulfilled your aim or able to lift you up so that you can grab it. But instead, if they take your arm, have this instead, and you get that, but that's not really what you want. And that's a change. So that's why I always encourage things. So I do agree with you in just saying that, twin flames are great, but you can't always marry your twin flame. And I guess with me, I add a bit on top of it. Sometimes you shouldn't marry your twin flames if they're going to change you. If it's a big indication that there is a big compatibility in that. But that's also really I should say a big attraction to start with. But that's always a starting point for me. So I guess and a lot of the spiritual stuff and the karma and so forth, they overlap a lot. I guess with Tao, I'm not sure how much you know of Taoism, but the astrology, the one I do comes from Taoism. That's with the yin and the yang symbol, with the complementary energies and so forth. And I guess, the charts relate to how naughty or nice you've been in the previous life. And it's reflection of that.
Yeah.
So,
From my spiritual point of view is that things can change. Not necessarily it should change, but can change for the better through spirituality, through good energy, through balancing of the karma. And even people's lives can change. Their character can even change because, but whether essentially, as you could see from the charts, that maybe their essential nature is such and such.
yeah.
But things can change. People can get better. But whether they should marry,
Yeah, it's a
thing.
different
Yes,
aspect.
because
like,
the karma could be so bad that they will just negatively influence each other, and
Yeah.
they will not. In fact, they will not. They will not fulfill their mission in life and their divine plan, or what they need to do in this life.
yeah, like I was saying, I see in the charts there are people that should not marry, and there are people that should not have children either. And it's hard to deliver, but that's the news I have to deliver. Essentially, and some people's charts are actually perfect, that they should not marry because if they marry, you always get the effects from your partner, and it could just wreck it. Or the people, or if a marriage, if they marry, it activates their house of spouse, and that locks up their chart. So they shouldn't. Same thing if you have children, it'll activate that child, either son or daughter, and that could be either bad or good for you. Then you should not have children, or should not have a son, or should not have a daughter. So it's hard to deliver, especially when people that have like 2 or 3 daughters and they want a son. And I said, please don't. It's for your own good. Don't have a boy. Another thing, but but it's on the other respects. If someone's got a deficiency in their chart that's got an issue, and that other person's chart actually resolves it, you need to marry that person, because then your life would just go up. You've that complementary that you've been resolved, or if you're saying if you're lacking certain elements and your partner has an abundance of it, you just compensate it. A bit of a borrowing. I equate it to a bit like an athlete. You see, everyone has. Athletes, firstly, you've got to have natural talent. Okay, be born with the right genetics. But you're always going, people have a bigger performance if you're being shot with steroids. It's illegal, but for argument's sake, and the effects will only last as long as you're getting those steroids. So the good effect or bad effect would only last as long as you're with that partner. So I guess it's more, would that be the same with karma? As though if you're with that person, you take it on, but once they're gone, that's it?
No, you have to yourself. This is what I meant from the beginning. Everyone has to develop themselves. You should actually be borrowing from someone else. That should only be temporary.
Yeah, it's
you
temporary.
You yourself have to become evolved. You should evolve. Everyone has to evolve. This is why the nature of the topic of my book. That everyone has this desire to evolve himself. You can't just be leaning on someone all the time, but you yourself have to be evolving.
No, it's certainly not leaning. It's not so much leaning, but just because they're with you, things just shoot up. Yeah. Or just because
this is good.
Yeah, for example, you might have a business that might have no involvement with it at all.
Yeah.
But just because they're married to you, your business just goes up. That sort of thing. Yeah, it can happen. Yes. Or on the other hand, you just brings it down.
Yeah, it's all about energy and vibration.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to find be in the right vibration, be in the right environment. That's again part of somehow this feng shui, right? That it and then astrology. So everything has to be aligned in such a way that it is fortuitous.
Yeah. Okay. And I think on that note, we leave the audience to contemplate. Yeah. We've gone through a lot. We've gone through being a marriage celebrant, and a couple of stories there, and how people should be behaving, in their marriage, and what is it's all about: karma, twin flames, and soulmates. And I think
karmic marriages.
Yeah,
and
karmic marriages,
relationships.
And I think that's worse. That's probably the first time a vast majority of people have ever heard the term twin flames, because you never hear it other than soulmates all the time. That term gets thrown around. Yeah. So I hope our audience has gotten a lot from today's show.
That was a lot.
Thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us your experiences.
Most welcome,
and
and thank you.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed sitting here talking with you.
Yeah. So how can people contact you again? Just again, so have your listeners.
Contact me on the phone 0425 264 642.
Yeah.
Or email divinityreclaimed, one word, divinityreclaimed@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in again.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, okay. And you're invited to come back in any other time as well. Okay.
Thank you.
So that's it for today. And remember to tune in same time next week. Until then, it's bye for now.